So if you're looking at, the same ambitious goals again this year, maybe for the third or fourth time, we have to start with a tough idea from the source material. It's probably not a lack of discipline that's holding you back.
Exactly. It's really more of a software mismatch. You're trying to get these powerful new results.
Yeah.
You're installing these demanding, high-performance apps, so to speak.
Right.
But you're doing it on a brain that's running glitchy, outdated mental software.
Okay, let's unpack that. For this deep dive, we're really getting into the mechanics of personal transformation, but through this metaphor of a system upgrade.
Yeah.
And the material suggests we move beyond what it calls hard mode willpower and into God mode identity programming.
That's the mission. We're going to diagnose that root glitch in the system, define the three crucial layers of change, and then actually implement this multi-step reprogramming protocol.
So we're aiming to systematically rewrite the rules you live by.
That's it.
So the first big idea is defining why we fail. Why does willpower always seem to let us down?
Because willpower is just a temporary override. I mean, think of it like a short burst of emergency power.
No way.
It's taxing, it's not sustained, and it cannot compete with automatic programming.
And that's the core issue, isn't it? Your default OS, your programming, that's all completely automatic.
Right.
So the moment that physical or mental stress hits, and it always does.
It always does. That default program just automatically wins every time.
You start the morning strong, optimistic.
Yeah.
But by noon, the old code's back online.
And you revert to old habits, you feel confused, and then you spend the rest of the day rationalizing why it didn't work out. It's not a moral failure, it's a technical one.
You can't outperform your default.
You can't. You can only replace them with better defaults.
I found this concept of the pattern recognition problem really, really insightful.
Yeah.
Every January, we set goals based on who we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But every single micro decision we make all day long, that's based on these mental patterns that have been running for years.
That cycle is just exhausting. You set the goal, you use that temporary override for maybe a week, and then stress hits.
A bad day at work, an argument.
Low sleep, anything. And that decades-old default just takes over. You revert, you feel that guilt, and the system learns, that goal was just a temporary thing.
This really highlights the need to define the system itself. The sources break it down into three parts: the hardware, the operating system, and the applications.
Right. The hardware is pretty simple. It's the physical brain, the neural network.
And the applications are the conscious goals, the things we see. Lose 20 pounds, start a side business.
But the key to all of this is the operating system, the OS.
So the OS is everything running in the background. The deep-seated patterns, core beliefs, the whole identity structure that dictates how those applications even run.
Exactly. I mean, two people can read the same book, right? The same application. But if one person's running an OS built on self-doubt, and the other's is running on curiosity and growth, they get wildly different results from the same input.
Because the outdated OS is creating friction.
So much friction. And that friction shows up as what the sources call code-based ceilings.
And these feel like external forces. They feel like bad luck or market conditions.
They do, but the argument is that they are almost always internal code limits. They manifest everywhere. Take the income ceiling.
Okay.
If your internal code says rich people are greedy, or even something simpler like money is hard to come by, you will unconsciously sabotage high-value deals.
So you'll hesitate on asking for that raise.
Or you won't follow up on a lead. You do these tiny little things to make sure you stay at that familiar, quote-unquote, safe income level.
Because the success itself feels threatening. It challenges the identity.
It does, and you see it in relationships, too, with the relationship ceiling. If your code is people always leave, or I'm too much for people,
you'll push away healthy, stable partners.
Yeah, because they feel unfamiliar. They feel weird compared to the fragility that you're programmed to expect. The system rejects what it doesn't recognize.
And the health ceiling is probably the most common one.
Oh, for sure. If your deep identity is, I'm the chubby friend, or I just have bad genetics, you might lose some weight for a bit.
But the system will trigger behaviors.
Like compensatory binge eating, or a sudden complete lack of motivation, all to pull you right back to that comfortable, familiar baseline.
So if these ceilings feel so real, so emotionally charged, how does simply recognizing them as code suddenly make them feel liberating?
Because recognizing them as just patterns It allows you to separate the pattern from your personal worth. You realize you're not flawed, your script is.
It moves from an existential crisis to a debugging project.
Exactly.
Understanding these limits are patterns, not a fixed reality, that opens the door to change.
So we know willpower fails us. If we want something that lasts, we have to look at the architecture of change. It's defined in these 3 distinct layers.
And most people, as the sources point out, only ever focus on layer 1.
Right. Layer 1 is just the applications or the behaviors, the most visible stuff.
Going to the gym, cutting sugar. But the problem is that layer depends entirely on motivation. And motivation it's volatile.
Behavior is just an output. Trying to change behavior without changing the OS underneath it is it's like trying to make a slow computer faster by just typing harder.
Doesn't work long term.
And it uses up all your energy. So then some people try to go a bit deeper to layer 2, the RAM, or our emotions and mindset.
Okay, so this is positive thinking, stress management, that sort of thing. That's helpful, right?
It is helpful, but for a short sprint. Emotions are temporary. Motivation is a fuel that you're constantly burning through.
So the initial high of a new goal always wears off.
Always. And if the OS hasn't been updated, the old system set point just snaps right back into place. So it's necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Which forces us down to layer 3, the operating system, the identity. This is where the core beliefs actually live.
And this is the essential shift, because when you change the core code here, the behavior changes automatically. Almost effortlessly.
You don't have to try to save money.
No, you just save money because you are a financially prudent person. It becomes a natural extension of who you believe you are.
So the difference is huge. The old way, or hard mode, is forcing a behavior and just hoping your identity eventually catches up.
While the new way, or God mode, is updating the identity first and then letting the behavior just flow naturally from that new truth.
Okay, so if layer 3 is so crucial, but it's also often invisible, how do we start finding those specific personality files? The beliefs that are currently installed that might be holding us back?
We need a diagnostic. We have to find the corrupted code that's limiting our income, our health, or our relationships.
Which brings us to the practical framework, the Reprogramming Protocol. And it all starts with step 1, the diagnostic, auditing the bugs.
Right. You have to find these deeply held beliefs. A lot of them were installed in childhood, and you've probably never even challenged them.
And this step requires what the source says is ruthless honesty.
It does. The idea is to complete these sentence stems without filtering your answers at all. Don't write what you want to believe. Write what your subconscious actually believes.
So an example would be something like, I am not someone who, and you just finish it. Runs marathons, makes over 6 figures, whatever it is.
Or, to achieve high-level success, I would have to. And your brain might say, sacrifice my family, or become a ruthless person.
Yeah.
That unfiltered thought, that is the code you're currently running.
So once you've found that corrupted file, step 2 is the Socratic debugging.
Yeah, and this is important because we know that just forcing positivity, repeating I am rich, it fails. Your brain just rejects it as fake because all your past data contradicts it.
So instead of forcing it, the sources suggest we treat the belief like code, not like an absolute truth, and we just gently question it.
Right. So if the code says success requires relentless grinding, you just ask yourself, is this absolutely 100% true?
And then you challenge it.
You challenge it. What evidence contradicts this? Do I know anyone who is successful and not grinding constantly? And the most important question for any piece of code, is this belief useful for the person I want to be?
If it's not useful, it's garbage code.
Exactly. The goal is just flexibility, not totally destroying the old idea.
Which leads to step 3, install the patch, the evidence log. This is the actual system upgrade, and it depends on data.
Because beliefs are just patterns the brain has logged as true over and over again.
Yeah.
So to install new code, you have to feed it new data consistently.
You write the new, more useful code like, I am someone who handles uncertainty well. Then you commit to these small, almost boring wins.
And the small wins are key. The source material really emphasizes this over heroic efforts because the subconscious mind trusts accumulated consistency, not these big dramatic spikes of effort.
So if you're trying to install I am a disciplined person, doing 10 push-ups every single day for a month is way better evidence than one epic gym session followed by 2 weeks of nothing.
It just stacks the data.
And, I still wrestle with this myself sometimes. When I try to install some high-level productivity code, there are days it just feels forced, like it's not sticking. But the data log, just the record of completion, that's what convinces the system in the end, not the feeling you have about it.
That's it right there. Data over feeling. Which brings us to step 4. Engineer the environment. You can't run high-performance software on a sluggish, old machine.
You have to optimize the world around you. Make it so the new code is the path of least resistance and the old code is actually inconvenient.
Physically, that's simple stuff, like laying out your running clothes the night before. But socially, it might mean distancing yourself from friendships that run on a scarcity mindset.
People whose default programming is just complaining or helplessness.
You don't rise to your goals, you will always inevitably fall to your systems.
And the final step is maintenance. Step 5, monitor and debug.
Yeah, just 15 minutes a week for a code review. What were the wins? Where did the new code run successfully? And what were the glitches? What specific trigger caused you to revert?
You diagnose the trigger, not just the outcome.
Always the trigger.
Okay, so if we're only upgrading one belief, one file at a time, how do we make sure the entire system doesn't just crash or reject the change?
That focus is what allows the proof to stack up so deeply. It makes the whole system stronger and more resilient for the next update you want to run.
Let's apply this protocol to those code-based ceilings we talked about, starting with career and income. Most people are running really old code about what they're worth.
Yeah, the limiting code is often something like, I sell time for money. The system update shifts this to something more like, I create value that can be priced and scaled separately from my time.
That is a huge identity shift.
It's massive, and the evidence needed to lock that in. It's usually really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It might mean studying people in your field making, 2 to 10 times more than you.
Not to copy them.
No, not to copy, but to see that their value model is different. And then you have to run small experiments. Maybe raise your prices 20% and just see what happens. The outcome is the data.
Okay, what about in relationships? If the belief is people leave when they see the real me, you're just programmed for emotional distance.
Right. So the patch you need to install is the right people appreciate authenticity and vulnerability.
And the evidence here would be
What?
running these small, controlled vulnerability experiments with safe, trusted people.
Exactly. And when they respond positively, you log that data. And if someone does leave, you reframe it. The system is working perfectly by filtering out mismatched connections.
It stops being a personal tragedy.
It becomes a calibration event.
And for health and fitness, where the code is often just, I'm not a fitness person.
The update should be softer, more achievable, something like, I'm someone who's learning to prioritize my body consistently.
So you aim for consistency, not this massive transformation.
Right. If the new code is, I move my body every day, then 10 minutes of stretching every single day for 90 days is far better data than running a half marathon and then burning out for a month.
Consistency provides the evidence that new identity needs.
And here's where it gets really, really cool. Let's talk about the advanced concepts, starting with the compounding effect of these code updates.
You're saying the change isn't linear?
Not at all. It's exponential.
Whoa. Just imagine that. Scaling these tiny belief changes across an entire life over years,
Yeah.
the acceleration would have to be incredible.
It really is. Belief changes stack. So when you successfully update the belief, I can learn new complex skills, that new success data suddenly makes the next belief, like I deserve professional success, much, much easier to install.
The previous update reduces the resistance for the current one.
Precisely. And then there's identity stacking. Instead of just chasing an outcome like more money, you ask a better question.
Who would naturally achieve this result?
Exactly. And then you focus on stacking the necessary identity components for that person. If you want to be a leader, you stack the code. I can handle uncertainty. I am decisive. I listen well.
At a certain point, the stack is so robust, you realize you are that person who gets those results.
Yeah. And maybe the most important upgrade of all is your belief about change itself. If your core code says people don't really change, every difficult attempt just feels like more proof of failure.
But seeing change as this systematic, iterative process, not some deep personality flaw that allows you to stop fighting yourself.
You start experimenting, you stop judging a reversion as a catastrophic failure, and you start logging it as a glitch that needs to be debugged.
So if the whole point is that this code changes, what happens when we face that old, reliable trigger? That moment of stress, the high-value deal, and we don't revert.
That calm moment, that automatic choice that feels completely effortless, that is the proof. That's how you know the new code has been successfully installed without you even needing conscious willpower.
So to bring this all back, transformation really isn't about trying harder. It's about these systematic, targeted updates to your identity OS.
Right.
Willpower is temporary, it burns out. But identity, once it's established, it's permanent and it's effortless.
Yeah.
You won't even recognize the person you're becoming until you're already them.
The change really does feel invisible day to day. It's just a series of small, almost boring choices that compound quietly in the background. The ultimate goal here is to actively rewrite the system that produces your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions.
That's a foundational level of agency.
It is.
We covered a lot of deep material today, from the income ceiling to the evidence log. So the final question we'll leave you with is this. Are you willing to examine your own code? Are you ready to bet on the updated version of yourself?
Until next time, keep monitoring and debugging your operating system.